Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 25th of October, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, aka Motown Noah. We got a big, massive episode for you guys today. A lot of hoops today. I'm going to commit to, this is pretty much only going to be a hoops hour that we do. Nothing on the margins, nothing in between. But before we get to all of that, I got to put something on your radar. About a month ago at this point, we got an email from one of you guys, and there was no subject line, there was no body text. Well, there might have been a subject line. It was like, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? But it was just an image of a 12-pack of 7-Up Shirley Temple edition. And I was like, what? And I was like, huh. So I emailed the guy back, oh my gosh, thank you for putting this on my radar. But I'm kind of thinking I'm getting a ball sack sports type of email here. I'm like, this isn't actually real. This is just one of those somebody fired up Photoshop. It was like, what if this was a real product? Folks, for the audio listeners, I'm going to put this on the screen for you. I have in front of me right now a 7-Up Shirley Temple edition. This shit is real. We were at we were at Target the other day. And I'm like, what do I want? Am I a Pepsi guy this week? Am I a Coke guy this week? What am I feeling? Motherfucking Shirley Temples in a can? 12 of them. One of you guys had also sent me a tweet from Paige Beckers a while ago, and the tweet was very simple. She said, I know a Shirley Temple hate to see me coming. Girl, same. Because let me tell you something, folks out there. Now, the irresponsible thing to do here would have been to also get a fifth of Tito's or something, and then that way I'm just boom, dirty Shirley, dirty Shirley, dirty Shirley. I know myself, and I know where my impulse control is at, and it's at 0. It's on the floor, right? So it's more responsible for me to just get this, and then get a case of beer, and then just kind of enjoy them separately. Folks, how does it taste? What does it actually taste like? It tastes exactly like you made a Shirley Temple at home. Like how you go to Applebee's, yeah, I think I'm going to do a Shirley Temple today, and they bring you a Shirley Temple. It tastes exactly like that. It's amazing. Go to your local Target, your local Walmart, your Meijer, your Publix, your Vons, your Dom's Market and Kitchen. Well, those don't exist anymore. Your Jewel-Osco, wherever it is, your Kroger's, your VG's, wherever it is that you get your groceries, and see if they have 7-Up Shirley Temple edition. Folks, it is incredible. You know what else is incredible? The fact that the NBA season is back. Holy smokes. So let's reverse engineer everything. Let's talk about all the games in reverse order. Let's start with opening night. It's the banner game. Ring night for the Boston Celtics. Boy, did that game end up stinking. And I turned the game on so late that I didn't even care enough to see them all get their rings and them actually raise the banner. I heard they cut to commercial. Is that true? We didn't even actually get to watch it. I was worried that the game was going to tip off an hour later than it was actually supposed to, because that's just always how this stuff goes. No, they actually had the timing down pretty nice. So the game gets started, and immediately it's no longer a game. Immediately, it's just not a game. And we were talking about this on the shoot around the other day. What people always say about the Celtics is that they're not fun to watch is because all they do is shoot threes. And I'm always just that's just such a lame take, because it's but if they're the best at it, right? If they're the best team and they're the best at doing that thing, then that in and of itself, to me as a viewer, is fun, because that's what I like to root for, is the best team. Not that I like to root for the best team, but to me it's always the most fun to watch the best team, because if this is the way that the sport is going to be played at its highest level, I want part in that. But damn, did it end up turning that game into a fucking snooze fest and just not fun at all? Because I watched the Knicks roll out Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Karl Anthony Towns, and Mikal Bridges. That's the starting lineup on the floor. I'm rubbing my eyes like a goddamn Looney Tunes character. I'm like, holy smokes, this is awesome. Until it wasn't, and when it wasn't was actually pretty early on in the game. So we kind of bullshitted our way through the first 3.5 quarters. Jason Tatum looked awesome, just didn't want to miss threes. He was I'm actually not in the mood today to miss threes. And it was oh, okay, the Knicks, I guess we're just chill with that. Tibbs was that's fine. It's you guys won a championship, that's cool. So the real meat and potatoes of this game wasn't anything that actually happened when the ones were in the game. It was when it was crunch time. Sorry, it was reverse crunch time, reverse Ozempic crunch time, when the game was completely out of reach and the Celtics had a chance to make NBA history. They had tied the single game record for most threes made in a single game. They tied the Bucks had the record as who they tied it with. 29 made threes. And so the Boston Celtics spend 8 minutes of real time just trying to get one more. They're just trying to get one more. Name a guy on the Celtics who is between 7 and 13 on the roster, somewhere in that, okay, it's human victory cigar time, throw out whoever we want because this game's out of reach. Basically, everybody got a shot. And it wasn't even just like the Jordan Walshes of the world and like the whoever. Like, dog, like Xavier Tillman is like putting up threes. That's a guy who can make a three. You know, every now and then he can make a three for sure. Motherfucking Peyton Pritchard is putting up threes. Nobody can get one down. And the crowd every 30 seconds. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, that was the last 8 minutes of the game. 30 minutes of real time was the Celtics getting either pretty decent looks or not good looks at all. And it was just like, can we make this last three? For a team that going into that final stretch before they were like trying to break the record, was shooting 62% from three from the first 3.5 quarters. And then they get to a point where, like, just put Jason Tatum in for one possession. Put Jaylen Brown in for one possession. Like, if you guys actually want to hunt this, because it's going to stink when, like, the guy who breaks the record is somebody that, with all due respect, like, nobody cares about. Even if it's, like, a team effort at the end of the day. Like, shut up. Who cares? You know what I mean? But I do think that they did the right thing at the end. When they just could not all of a sudden make any threes, which was, they would have had one more chance. There's, like, 30 seconds and change left on the clock. Boston's got to go down the floor. If they, I mean, hey, there's still enough time on the clock that they're going to have to get one more shot up. But Peyton Pritchard did the honorable thing. He was like, you know what? We're going to wear this one. We had 8 minutes of game time to try to break this record, and somehow we didn't do it. I'm just going to dribble this one out. Yeah, we're going to wear this one. That's on us. You guys are not. The crowd go, one more three. Even if, like, I did also kind of want that to happen, like, just put one up at this point. If the Knicks are going to get mad about it, like, they're bitch made, you shouldn't have let them get into this position in the first place. But Peyton Pritchard did the honorable thing by just letting the shot clock go out, just eating that grenade, just pulling the pin and sitting on it, and then it goes back down to the other end. Game over. Celtics win game 1 of the season. So that's cool. And then we pivot. We go to the Lakers and we go to the Timberwolves. And the stealth word out there was Windhorst put the word out that, hey man, just make sure you're in your seats when the second quarter starts, assuming that it's still a close game and that there's a reason for this to happen. That's kind of what happened. We get late into the second quarter, and it happened, folks. The Bronny James, LeBron check-in at the exact same time did finally happen. Now, what we were learning throughout the game is that JJ made it like a point of emphasis to just get this out of the way now, to just do this in the first game of the season. So that way every single game isn't like, ooh, is it going to happen? Ooh, is this going to be the game that it happens? Because that's just it's a cloud of distraction that you just don't really want on a team that already has a cloud of distraction when JJ Redick is the coach and when you're the Lakers and when you have LeBron. Like, there's so much circus shit that already comes with it. And so they just wanted to kill it immediately. I think that was the responsible thing to do. So kudos to them for that. And I've, for the most part, avoided a lot of the Bronny James discussion because it's too volatile for me. And it's almost like there's not a right answer and there's not a wrong answer, excuse me, to whatever question is being posed. And so for the most part, I've kind of stayed out of it. But folks, I got to tell you something. I did get real life emotional watching those two play together because as somebody who in the last 6 months is starting to learn like what it's like to be a dad and like what it's like to be a parent, I wasn't really looking at it through the lens of a basketball fan. I was looking at it through the lens of that, right? And when they keep cutting to Savannah James in the crowd, this is what I explained on the shoot around too. So if, for those of you who will hear me say this twice, if you'll just give me the grace and let me get this out. They cut to Savannah James, and I'm thinking about a woman who has been with the same man for, 30 some odd years at this point. His vocation has not changed in the last 22 years. He's been doing the exact same thing, the thing that puts food on their plates, right? The reason that they get to live in these big houses is because of that man right there. And that same man gave you a child, or rather, you gave him a child is what I should say. And to watch that family get to experience that moment, right? Because I could say, well, I'm starting to learn what it's like to be a father these last 6 months. I'm also getting to experience externally what it looks like for someone who I love to become a mother. And so I'm just, you get what I'm saying. And so when I'm watching them check in, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And for Griffey Jr. and Griffey Sr. to also be sitting courtside, for all intents and purposes, the greatest father-son duo to ever play any sport ever. We did kick around Gordie Howe and his sons a little bit on the shoot around. Like, yeah, dude, Gordie probably should have retired, and then he decided to skate for like another 10 years because he was like, no, I want to be able to skate with my sons. And like 2 of them, I think, is what ended up happening. And guess what? He actually got to do that. So, man, it was special. And you see Bronny, I kind of like get it in check a little bit. It was about 30 seconds of me kind of welling up and being like, damn, this is just such a cool moment. And then it happened again when Bronny took the dribble handoff from LeBron. And yeah, man, everybody in the world wanted that shot to go in. The roof would have exploded off of Staples Center, Crypto.com Arena, as it is, if that shot went in. But it is what it is, You hope that he just gets sent down and that he just plays in the G League for a while and like whatever, because he's not going to learn anything sitting on the end of the bench. And the only way for him to actually become the player that some people are projecting him to be, or projecting onto him is maybe a better way to put it, is if he actually gets some run. And that's just not going to happen with the Lakers this season. One soft little thing, well, a couple notes from that game, I guess, was what if the Lakers are good? What if that's, and this isn't like a knee-jerk reaction, like, oh my gosh, like what the Lakers are, what if they're good this year? No, but like, I don't know, but like, what if they are, because they didn't look that stupid in that game. I'm watching LeBron. I just can't believe that like he's still doing this and like he still rules. I just can't. It's awesome. I just love it. Anthony Davis was amazing in that game. He swatted, what was it in like the third quarter that he had a swat on Rudy Gobert and he let his motherfucking ass know about it. He's like, hey, Rudy Gobert, remember when you were a pussy? Remember that? Remember when everybody hated you? Well, a lot of people still do. A lot of people still hate Rudy Gobert. We don't on this program. We do not hate Rudy Gobert on this program, but that swat from Anthony Davis was awesome. And I think this is maybe something we've said about Anthony Davis before, is it's like, I don't know, first of all, how he doesn't have a Defensive Player of the Year, but like, it's crazy how much shit we give him, because when he's on the way that he was in that Timberwolves game, like he's one of the best defenders I've ever seen in my life. And he like is such a sneaky stat sheet stuffer. Like when Anthony Davis goes for 36 and 16, like I don't feel it. Like no, this is good that I'm saying this out loud, because I don't think that's true. I don't think that's the way that I mean it, because he always has a really loud 16 rebounds, and 16 of those 32 points are going to be like pretty beefy and like, for explosive through one way or another. How do I mean this take? I'm not really sure, but it just kind of creeps up on you is maybe what I'm getting at. So good for Anthony Davis for like still being awesome, for still being cool. A couple other notes from this game. I think maybe I've mentioned this before, when Jacob, aka Rusty Buckets, and Rudy were here in Chicago, we went to a Bulls Knicks game, and when we were watching Dante DiVincenzo warm up, like he just like wasn't missing. And like, sure, yeah, it's warm ups, and like guys who are in the NBA typically don't miss when there's nobody on the court and they're warming up. But you know what I mean? Like there's something about it. It was just like mesmerizing to watch, and it was in the middle of this run where Dante DiVincenzo was averaging like goddamn 25 points a game, and Jacob was like, "What if this is just who he is?" I feel like I did say this recently, where he's like, what, like you go to the Chris Middleton school of just being a motherfucking bucket and like you're just awesome. And I was like, wow, I like really attached myself to that. I was like, that would be really, really cool. And then I don't know what the box score would say, but I test Dante DiVincenzo. Here's a knee-jerk reaction for you. After the first game, what if it's the opposite? What if he just sucks? What if, and I don't mean this. I don't think this is actually the case, but he just wasn't that good in that game. Like, what if it's the complete opposite and he gets shipped to Minnesota and he just isn't good? That would be really funny. It would actually break my heart. It would not be that funny at all. It would break my heart. I still don't even totally understand what happened with the exchange in the preseason game where he was like, oh, this is what happens when Tibbs run the show. Like, you suck. Oh, you should have traded me. I'm Dante DiVincenzo. They never really got into that because I was like, this is a preseason beef thing and this isn't real. Like, this absolutely does not count. What else happened in this game? So after the game, JJ Redick was talking about how they were playing, the ball that they were playing with was a brand new ball, like right out of the box. And how that cannot be a thing moving forward and that they need to use a more weathered ball. And he cited the fact that I don't think he said this, but NBA teams, no, he did say this, that they need to actually put the ball in the weather machine. And I said, well, goddamn weather machine, what are you, fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene? What the hell? This is real white-on-white crime, if we're being honest, because you're telling me JJ Redick can doctor the balls pregame, but as soon as Tom Brady does it, now we got to slap him on the wrist and we have to crucify him for the rest of his life? Oh, but when the podcast darling fucking JJ Redick wants to do it, then it's completely fine. Now, the truth here that I actually believe is that, yeah, playing with a brand new ball sucks. But I'm also confused because one player from each team will go to half court to start the game. And there's like 4 balls that they can choose from and they each kind of feel them and they, squeeze them a little bit and they take some dribbles and then they each agree on which ball they want to use. Well, why did they decide to pick a ball that was bad? Why did they do that? JJ, maybe you should take a look at whoever you're sending out there to be the ball representative. Just something to chew on. JJ Redick. And then we moved to the Pistons opening night. Holy smokes. Did you guys see this? Did you guys hear about this? The Pistons looked good. They looked really, really fun. Sure, they ended up losing the game to the Indiana Pacers, but such is life. The sixth highest scoring offense in the history of basketball a season ago. I don't remember where they ranked in terms of efficiency, but that was a super high powered offense, which confused the hell out of me when I see, okay, so the Pistons going into that game on FanDuel were not a gambling podcast, but they were plus 180. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. But the spread was 5.5 points. I was like, Vegas is giving us 5.5 points. They believe in us. That we're playing Indiana. Their team isn't that different, if really that different at all from a season ago when, again, they had the offense that they did. So I was like, wow, okay, so even Vegas is never wrong. Vegas is very famously never wrong. The house always wins. There are many such cases of people saying that Vegas is never wrong about this shit. And guess what? Well, no, we covered, didn't we? I think we were close to, maybe it was 6 points. Whoa, that's funny. Let's get this in real time. Pistons Pacers final score. I think it was 6 points is what it was. It's 115 to 109. So that's 6 points. Wow, fuckers. Wow, what a little backdoor cover there. Probably. I turned it off after Halliburton hit that three. Motherfucker goes 0 for 8 in the entire game. And then when the Pacers absolutely need it most, they need a dagger to put the Pistons away. Tyrese Halliburton is like, oh yeah, I forgot I can shoot the basketball. That sucked. What happened before the game? Well, for those of you who are interested in this, when they did their, hey, it's the first game of the season, we're going to do real player introductions, where they have them come out of the tunnel and one by one, they announce all the players. The 3 biggest cheers, Cade got the biggest cheer, Jalen Duren got the second biggest cheer, and who do you think got the third biggest cheer from the fans? I will give you about 3 seconds to think about it. Third biggest cheer from Pistons fans. Folks, if you said Ron Holland, you would be correct. Well, it was not Jaden Ivey. It was Ron Holland, which was whoa, oh, okay, so that's interesting. So how did that game go? Again, we looked like a real team. This isn't even knee-jerk. This is oh, okay, so, sure, they might not win 100 games this year, but they are maybe going to win 30, because if we just ride these vets, that was kind of the formula, was Tim Hardaway looked awesome. Especially to start the game, he's just ripping the net. Malik Beasley, looked good. Tobias Harris, looked good. He was getting tough buckets. He had a midi in, I think, the second quarter that I went, oh, tough bucket, out loud. You know what I mean? Cade was kind of MIA, at least in terms of scoring in the first half, and then comes out and had, damn near, 24, I think, in the second half. He was awesome. He had a three-pointer at the buzzer to close out the third quarter, which got me involuntarily animated. My brother immediately texted me, oh yeah, Cade's a dog. Yeah, okay, yep, he is. He 100% is. I'm getting texts from everybody during this game. Are you watching the game? What are you talking about? Of course I'm watching the game. But wow, they look pretty good. If you had my phone number, there's a non-zero chance that you texted me and were the Pistons actually look like a real team tonight. They really did, and it was really exciting. There's not too much to read into. There's really not that much for me to say, other than I had more fun watching a Pistons game last night against the Indiana Pacers than I have I could not tell you how long. Because when you actually put a real product in front of us, it's crazy what that does to us psychologically. But folks, before we move on from the Pistons, we had a segment last year that we ended up ditching pretty early into the season, as I think it was in the middle of the 27 games in a row that we lost, that I was I'm not fucking doing this segment anymore because I hate all of these guys. Knicks Pistons. It is the illustrious return of Knicks Pistons, where I put all of the Detroit Pistons that are of consequence into a tier list, and I tell you where they are in my personal standing at this exact moment. Figured there wasn't a better time to do it because I didn't watch any of the preseason games. Then after watching them play their first game of the regular season against the Indiana Pacers. So we'll put it up on the screen for those of you who are driving right now or just can't look at the screen. I will read to you the tiers going from top to bottom. So up at the top, we have number one guy. Right below that, we'd be really bad without you. Middle of the pack is NBA player. Second to last tier is the Devin Booker tier. I'm bringing this one back. And then at the bottom, we have not on the team. Parenthetically, blood clots. Let's get that one out of the way first. Asar Thompson is hashtag not on the team, parenthetically, blood clots. Still hasn't been cleared to play. So it's no disrespect to him, but he is like kind of not on the team right now. I guess he gets to practice. You always see videos of him shooting around, but like he's not allowed to play. Hasn't been cleared. This also has to go through the PA, I guess, like the Players Association. They got to clear him to something weird. I don't know. We have literally zero information on what's going on with him. Some speculation out there that that's why the Pistons ended up drafting Ron Holland was because they were like, okay, well, if we don't have a Sar Thompson, why don't we just draft the exact same fucking guy that we drafted a year ago? Why don't we just do that? Because like in a vacuum, that's kind of what happened. I don't know. I would take like Ron Holland's scoring punch over Asar Thompson, but you know what I mean? Like the Swiss Army knife shit and like the defensive inclination. It's the same picture.jpg. So it's like, otherwise it would be really weird if they just drafted that guy twice, like in a row, like consecutively. That would be kind of weird. So, okay, we'll see. The Devin Booker tier. It's Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey still in the Devin Booker tier. People were telling me about his gaudy preseason numbers. Shot like 63% from the field, 53% from three. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Did not do that in the first game of the regular season. We'll see how that one pans out. Does still get to the line a lot, though. I think he got to the line a couple times. Took like 9 shots at the line. Went like 7 of 9. Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, that's actually cool. There's no sarcasm there. I'm not doing a bit. That is actually good. That is actually nice. Something that the Pistons like just famously haven't had for like 20 years, other than Blake Griffin is a guy who will like actually get to the line. Like even Cade just doesn't really do it that much, but Jaden Ivey likes contact. So that's cool. But until I see something that changes my mind, and I don't think Benedict Mathurin bitching him again and making his knees slap together and sending his ass to hell last night was really what I was looking for. I mean, technically it was, but, you know, it wasn't. That's not what I wanted to see. So, yep, Jaden Ivey, Devin Booker tier. Up to NBA player. We have Ron Holland. Yeah, I like him. Looked like a pretty good scorer in the summer league, but that's also kind of not what we need from him right now. We just need him to play defense, like jump in passing lanes, like be crazy on defense, dive for loose balls, do all the gritty stuff. So far, so good on that front. I like Ron Holland. I think it'll be pretty easy for him to move up in this list. Up next, Marcus Sasser. It'll just be an opportunity thing with him, I think, because when he's in the second unit or, you know, wherever he ends up getting some shine, it's just an NBA player. Like, it's a dude who can really score like a lot. He just doesn't really get the volume to really put that on display. You know what I mean? Especially now that there are actually guys on the team around him who can also shoot the ball. So it's like maybe we just need Marcus Sasser to be more of a point than anything, which sucks. I don't know. We'll see. Isaiah Stewart, the best screen setter that we have on the team. I feel like usually you say something like that and it's like calling a quarterback a game manager. It's actually like, you know what I mean? Like where it's actually not that much of a compliment. But in this instance, no, it absolutely 100% is. I love Isaiah Stewart. I really hope nothing ever happens to him, and I hope that he's here forever. Love Isaiah Stewart. Last player in the NBA player tier. Bobby Klintman. Yeah. I don't know if he belongs on this list yet, but I really liked watching him in the Summer League, and I think he could be an NBA player, and we'll see. For right now, yeah, he's an NBA player. Was inactive last night, actually, so we didn't get to see him. And even if he was active, there's literally zero chance that we were going to get to see him, but I like him. And I don't need to say anything else about it. Let's move up to we'd be really bad without you. Tim Hardaway Jr. Yeah. Why don't I just bury the lead here? It's Tim Hardaway Jr., Malik Beasley, and Tobias Harris. There are 2 other ones that we'll get to in a second. But all the vets that we just brought in, I'm just going to kind of reiterate what I said a couple of minutes ago, where I think the first like quarter of the season, we're going to be riding those 3 dudes. And like whoever's the hottest, and like it's just a distribution thing. Like one of them always gets a good look at the basket. And it's really the luxury of having dudes who know how to move without the ball that I think is something that's been missing since we got Cade. Players who can do stuff without the ball in their hand. It's those 3 guys. It's Tim Hardaway Jr., it's Malik Beasley, and it's Tobias Harris. And I think that if the Pacers game was indicative of anything, it's that we will be able to reap the benefits of that all season long. So we also have Jalen Duren in here. What am I supposed to say about him that I, A, haven't already said 100,000 times, B, you don't already know because you turn on a Pistons game and he's just like kind of everywhere. He's just kind of everywhere and he's huge and he's a freak and love Jalen Duren. Also, Simone Fontecchio is in this tier list. I'm sorry, in this tier specifically. We'd be really bad without Simone Fontecchio. Again, the Pacers game is not indicative of that, but it's one game. I don't care. The guy is a lights-out three-point shooter, and there is a real chance that he slips. It won't. I will have kind of a short leash with him just because it's like it's Simone Fontecchio. You know what I mean? Like, he's just, I don't know if I've said this on this show, so I apologize if I have and I'm repeating it, but hey, it's the art of repeating yourself, right? There's always somebody listening to the show who hasn't listened before, so they've never heard this take before. Simone Fontecchio is if the Svi Mykhailiuk thing worked. That's it. That's the take. And then going up to the top, number one guy. Yeah, it's Cade Parker Cunningham, obviously. Or should I say Braid Cunningham? That's what we got out of him. Didn't it kind of make his like body look weird, though? Did you guys notice that, too? That when his hair isn't as big as we've become accustomed to, is made his like portions look, you're like, wow, your shoulders and your arms are actually huge, and maybe your head is kind of small. I still love the braids, and I hope that he like never changes it ever, like literally ever. I loved it. Yeah, that was Knicks Pistons, folks. Return of the segment. I don't know how often we're going to be doing that, but whenever there's a seismic change or two or three that I feel are worth noting, then that segment will make its return. So let's jump into some emails today, folks. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. This one comes into us from Sean. Sean, welcome to the show. Subject line, Ivey Mathurin beef. Hi, Nick. Long-time listener, first-time emailer. You know the drill. First off, as a Pacers fan, the Pistons look like a real-ass team. Cade looks like a capital D dude is what you wrote here. You didn't write that, but the D is capitalized. Cade looks like a capital D dude, and to see him surrounded by actual NBA role players and competent coaching is just awesome to see. Yeah, Sean, we're saying the same shit here, brother, 100%. Back to the email. As I was watching this game, I couldn't help but think about how every time Jaden Ivey and Benedict Mathurin step onto a court together, you can just feel the pure, unadulterated hatred that they share for each other. It's so entertaining to see these two uber-talented and uber-athletic young guys talk mad shit to each other and make some incredible plays, but then also go into tunnel vision trying to outdo the other and make horrible decisions. Right. It leads me to ask, what are your favorite random non-all-star beef/rivalries in the NBA, past or present? One that stands out in memory for me was Nene and Louis Scola. Wow, the Dinwiddie-Kuzma beef was hilarious as well. Love what you're doing. Makes my day whenever I get a notification. Thank you for this, Sean. Wow, Nene and Louis Scola. I didn't even know that they had beef. I'm just like, Nene isn't that crazy of a name to hear every now and then, but Louis Scola, you just don't really hear him. I forgot about Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyle Kuzma. Yeah, I'm just going to do the Homer thing and say, first of all, presently, I think you hit the nail right on the head just identifying the Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin thing. And for those of you who don't know, Benedict Mathurin just like hates us. He just like hates the Pistons, and he absolutely fucking hates Jaden Ivey because we didn't pick Benedict Mathurin. We picked Jaden Ivey, and then Ben Math went one pick after to Indiana, and he's made us pay for it ever since. And he bitches us every single time, just like he did to Jaden Ivey. Maybe I was just like not paying attention whenever Jaden would have gotten him back in the Pacers game the other night. I didn't see that happen ever. So for me, it seems a little bit one-sided. More home cooking, the fakest beef. Well, you said non-all-star. This is 2 all-stars, but the fake Andre Drummond, Joel Embiid beef that was happening for a couple of years, where Andre like kept talking shit, and then Embiid would give him like 35 and 17 and would like put Andre's ass in the basket. And every time we played the Sixers, it was like a thing, and they would just like shit talk each other and like throw bows in the low post. But like it was never like we didn't ever win those games. Andre never outperformed him. It was fake as hell. It was foo-foo as hell. And then how poetic is it that now he's Embiid's backup? Now he's carrying the water for Joel Embiid. And now Andre Drummond still being like, I would love to end my career with Detroit. I bet you would, brother. I bet you would. I don't know. I could probably get on board with that if he's like Udonis Haslem. If Andre Drummond is I don't want... I'll chew on that one. I don't know what I think about that one yet. If Andre Drummond ended up being our Udonis Haslem, where I don't have to worry about him playing, but it's like cool that he came back and like wants to be a part of the quote unquote culture. Yeah, maybe I could get on board with that. What are some other ones? Does Joakim Noah versus just the city of Cleveland count? Maybe I think that might be too high profile. I wish I thought about this one more because this is such a fun question. Lonzo versus Kuzma. I like to talk about that one a lot, and they were teammates. I really, really liked that one. There's got to be another one. Marcus Smart versus that fan in that Oklahoma State game. You guys remember that one? That one was pretty funny. It wasn't funny. In retrospect, it's funny. At the time, it didn't feel very funny, though. It felt like, oh, wow, this is not good. Retrospect, it's kind of funny. Not a NBA one, but remember when LeGarrette Blount punched that guy? When he was playing for Oregon, he punched the Boise State guy. That was funny. Dante Jones versus anybody from the bench. When Dante Jones was in he was in the twilight years of his career, when he was like the Cavs, Udonis Haslem, and he like would just sit on the bench for like 2 years, but he would shit talk everybody. That was pretty funny. I liked that one. The Jaden Ivey Ben Math thing is fun to watch, though. Let's read this one from Ryan. Ryan, welcome back to the show, brother. Subject line, Russell Westbrook career evaluation. Greetings from Dallas. I'm not sure what specifically sparked it, but I've been thinking a lot about Russell Westbrook. Maybe it was seeing him on his 5th new team since 2019, or perhaps you brought him up passively. Either way, I feel like we need an honest answer to this question. How will history remember Russell Westbrook? I emphasize, quote unquote, honest, because I remember very well the conversation around him during his eventual MVP season. While I understand the hype people engaged in relating to the triple-double average, I think we all knew at the time that the Thunder had basically no chance of getting past the first round that year. And when the triple-double novelty wore off, what was left? Some really sick highlights, but not a whole lot else. However, I do not want to enter the Colin Cowherd territory and say that the triple-double season was worthless and that Russell Westbrook is a cancer to every team he is on. I've seen a lot of his former teammates vouch for him and say that they loved playing alongside him, and that's not nothing. So, what do we do with Russ? Ryan, this is a great question. I've been thinking about this one all morning. I was in the shower thinking about this one. Ryan, I was in the shower thinking about an email that you sent me. 5th new team since 2019 for Russell Westbrook. That's the craziest part of his entire career is how, well, I guess you kind of already alluded to this. It's just how quickly it's not a downward trajectory, but like his perception just kind of tanked. And I think it was because after Oklahoma City, he just didn't have a home. There wasn't like a team that was like, no, we have all of the Russell Westbrook stock and like, this is our guy. Because the Houston thing was really fun and exciting when it happened because it was like, oh my gosh. Like James Harden and Russell Westbrook, like, oh, the Oklahoma City thing. And then, eventually Harden reunites with KD. And so, like, we kind of got both of those things from Harden. And, like, that was cool. But, meh. And then he goes to Washington. And it was like, which is such a fever dream, honestly. I cannot, but, like, Wizards fans, where are you on that you had Russell Westbrook for, like, what, a year? Which is, like, what? Huh? The Lakers thing, the teammates thing, I think is important here because you're right. Everybody always speaks glowingly about him. And brother, that is not nothing. You're exactly right. And he's never quit on anybody, which is a big thing for me. Like, I've never questioned if Russell Westbrook is trying really, really hard. And I don't mean that in like a condescending way. I mean that like it's an effort thing. That's what I like to watch, is a dude who I know is giving 110% for the 40 minutes that he's on the court. Because even the Lakers thing that I was just about to mention, but then I derailed myself. Like, he didn't really quit. It just didn't make sense. He just didn't need to be there. That situation, like, again, it was cool when he got there because it was like, wow, Russell Westbrook going home. Like, that's cool. Made way more sense on the Clippers. And then they broke up. And now he's in Denver. And it's like, meh. It's like, meh. For me, the most exciting thing about his career, like, yes, it was the averaging a triple-double for an entire season, but it was what sort of preceded that, which was KD leaves, and we all collectively say to ourselves, holy shit, Russell Westbrook might average a triple-double for an entire season if it's just him running the show. Because what was the timeline on it? KD would have left... So 73-9 would have been 2016, and then that July, I think on July 4th, was when My Next Chapter came out in the Players Tribune. So I think it was late in the season in 2016, the 15-16 season. I think like maybe KD was out or something, and didn't Russ have like 5 straight games where he had a triple-double? And that was like breaking new ground completely in its own right. We were like, holy shit, like a player in the modern era can do this? Like, whoa, talk about this uber athletic guy who just like... And yeah, man, during those games, I'm sure if I look back at the box score, and including the season where he actually averaged the triple-double and won the MVP, sure, like maybe he was going 10 for 30 in those games. Like, it wasn't always the most like fun thing to watch. It was more sometimes fun to just look at the box score. But just to get back on the road here, it was the fact that we went from, holy shit, this guy might actually average a triple-double. Like, he has the tools for it. And if anybody in the modern NBA is going to do it, it will be this guy in Oklahoma City wearing 0. Why not? As he used to say. That was his slogan, right? For his brand. Yeah, and then, like, what happens when that guy actually does? He wins the MVP. That's what happens. I think they won, 41 games that year, to your point. They were, like, I think the 7th or 8th seed. They were never going to do anything meaningful. But, damn. What a tough guy, too. You guys remember the picture of him with the dent in his head? You guys remember that? Remember I think it's a Sixers fan, who there's like a loose ball or something, and Russ is like on the sideline or on the baseline. And there's just that Sixers fan, and this is going to be more of a visual joke for our audio listeners. The Sixers fan is just like flipping him off like in his face, and Russ just does like the funny as hell. You think about his all-time shacked in a fool moment when I think it was the first year that KD was in Golden State. And he just like took the ball out. Russ took the ball out and took like 8 steps and just didn't dribble. And Steph and KD and everybody's like, what the fuck? Whoa, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then they finally called the travel after like his 5th step. He's like, Jesus Christ, only in the NBA. How are we going to remember him? I don't know. I'm thinking out loud here. So if I need to reel this one back in, I will. Did people kind of stop caring about him and his triple-doubles because a guy like Jokic came along, who was putting up triple-doubles in like a more sexy and more efficient way, and in a way that actually contributed to winning basketball? I also think of a guy like Luka Doncic, right? Think about a player in the NBA who like can put up triple-doubles any given night. And how we talk about that and how we view that versus like a Russell Westbrook type character. You know what I mean? And so and I don't think it's like a shiny new toy syndrome thing. Like, I don't want to play with you anymore .jpg to Russell Westbrook. I don't think it's like that, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's sort of if the destination is a triple-double, it's like the vehicle that you use to get there, and it feels different when it's like a Jokic or Luka or who's like another one. I'm like blanking on literally anybody else who puts up triple-doubles. You know what I mean? Because they win games, especially Jokic won a championship, like playing his brand of basketball. And the results are the same. The destination is the same, but it's the way that they got there. And so that's what creates this like revisionist shit about Russell Westbrook. Does that make any sense? I don't know. copingoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. There's another one in here that I wanted to say. That I wanted to read. I don't remember which one it was. Shoot. Yeah, shout out to the guy. Shout out to Sam, who sent in an email in July. And he said, I totally understand if you leave this one alone because of the off-the-court context of him, but genuinely curious if you have a take or opinion on Kevin Porter Jr.'s stock with the Clippers. The guy was averaging 25-5 before everything went down, then went to Greece to a top 3 European league, and seemed to have played really well. Fast forward, he's now on a 2-year, $4 million contract with the Clippers. Am I a bozo if I think this was actually a sneaky good move purely from a basketball standpoint? Probably. But I've also been known to have some freezing cold takes. And then he included 2 screenshots of tweets that he had. And the first one is from June 27th, 2013, and he tweeted, apparently drafting an 18-year-old nobody from Greece is the Bucks' idea of a good draft pick. Whoops. God damn, that's funny. And then the next one is, I don't know what year this would have been from. The only way this draft could get worse is if the Bucks take Embiid or Julius Randle. What? Record scratch freeze frame. You're probably wondering how this guy got here. And so you're like, okay, so Nick, why are you reading this? Because 5 hours before we're taping this, he responded to his own email and said, 1 for 8, 2 points. Whoops. Sam, hold the line. Hold the line. It's a long season, brother. Stick to your guns on this. Maybe Kevin Porter Jr. is going to be awesome. Why do I always in my head think that he threw soup at someone? I know that was J.R. Smith. And I know what Kevin Porter Jr. otherwise did, and I get that. But wasn't there something where he threw something at somebody? Did he also throw soup? Or am I just conflating the J.R. Smith thing? I don't know. Shoot. Got one from Dampridge. Hey, Nick, I just watched the Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart podcast. They had Kat as a guest, and honestly, it was hard to sit through. There was more ad reads and sponsors than content. Noted. So what is it? The Roommates podcast? Is that what it's called? So just don't check into that anymore. Thank you for that. Thank you for the update there. Did you guys see? So the old man in the three obviously is dead because JJ Redick is an NBA coach. And so I was like thinking Tommy Alter is going to turn into a fucking Looney Tunes character, like being on the side of the road, like banging a tin can, being like, yeah, but he's bad age. Like, what is this guy going to do? Is this guy out of a job for the rest of his life until JJ comes back to podcasting? No, because the young man in a three is a thing. And so they're like starting a whole network, like a podcasting network, a content factory. And the young man in the three will be a podcast that Tommy Alter is the co-host. But the host will be like a rotating Rolodex of NBA players. And the first episode came out, it was Tyrese Halliburton and Tommy Alter interviewing Barack Obama. What? Huh? That simultaneously sucks and rules. It sucks because, wow, so this... No, it just doesn't suck. I was going to say something I don't mean. That's so awesome. That's so cool. Like Obama. But what's so weird is it kind of goes back to what we were talking about a couple episodes ago about how like podcasts are sneaky becoming the vessel for influencing elections. Like not the vessel, but a vessel. Now, I don't know if Obama went on there to talk about politics. I honestly don't know that. But I just know that he's a former president of the United States. And if there was an opportunity for him to slide in, it's like an hour long, to slide in anything about this upcoming election, he probably did that. And so he goes on, even if he's talking sports for an hour. Okay, so he's talking sports. And then J.D. Vance just went on Theo Vaughn's podcast, and they talk about sports for a while. And it was like, whoa, J.D. Vance. Like, he's like cussing. He's like swearing. Grandma, J.D. Vance goes on a podcast and starts swearing. That guy is going to be the vice president of the United States? Grandma, I could not believe it, that a guy would do that. He's fucking insane. And then the other one was Tim Walsh going on Rich Eisen, the media king right now. I love Rich Eisen. The stars go to Rich Eisen, folks. But Tim Walsh wasn't on there to talk about the election. He was on there to talk about his time as a state championship winning defensive coordinator in his for a high school team in Minnesota. That was it. And then he like talked about the Vikings a little bit and just like talked about going to a Minnesota-Michigan game, the old brown jug game. I'm like, whoa, so all these dudes are just like coming out of the woodwork to talk about ball? That's awesome. That absolutely rules. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. Now, folks, we have to talk about something kind of serious really quick, if you don't mind. The other day, we had a little anonymous tip regarding the Motown Noah 2024 bingo sheet. And I played a clip for you in the previous episode, and we had to kind of get to the bottom of whether or not we were going to count the Clippers blowing it up on the bingo sheet. I will put it on the screen in just a second. Let me do this setup first. So basically, on the bingo sheet, there was a slot that said, the Clippers blow it up. But the clip, which again, we played in the last episode, if you're interested and use the timestamps to your advantage, you want to go listen to it for yourself. What I say in the clip, when we originally put this together back in January, was it's not about them blowing it up. It's the fact that they're going to do something weird with Paul George. Well, folks, I don't know if you saw this and I don't know if you heard about this, but the Clippers certainly did something weird with Paul George. They let him leave for nothing. And now he's a Philadelphia 76er. And, it's funny. I'm going to derail myself for 2 seconds. It's funny. Usually when it's the opening night for a team and you're like, oh, man, this team's already in midseason form. Usually that's a really good thing to hear. But in the Sixers case, it was, oh, they're in midseason form because Paul George and Joel Embiid already aren't playing in these games. And then another thing that we said in the previous episode was Joel Embiid being like, yeah, I'm not playing in back-to-backs. And I was like, are you allowed to do that? Like, is that ticket tampering? I don't think you're allowed to do that. Turns out you're not. Because ESPN's Shams Charania tweeted out the other day that the NBA is looking into that. They launched an investigation immediately after Joel Embiid said that shit, so whoops-a-daisies. Now, the reason that we brought up this little anomaly on the bingo sheet was because if we had allowed it to happen, if we allowed it to go on the board, that would mean we only need, Nick, put it on the board, one more space on the top row to get a bingo for 2024. And that would be Bryan Cranston having another moment. Now, Nick, take it off of the screen. All right, we're back. This is a democracy. I told you guys, whatever you say is what we will do. Your votes matter. Every ballot must be counted. This was a mail-in election. So, folks, without further ado, let's see if my technicality of the Paul George versus blowing it up thing gets to go on the board. Votes in favor of it going on the board. Yes got 53 votes. The no's got 11 votes, which means that it goes on the board and we are officially one space away from landing a bingo. We just need Bryan Cranston to have another moment. But folks, what if I told you that it already happened? A lot of you put this on my radar. And at first I decided, you guys are right about this, and I'm going to put this up to another vote in the next episode. But then so many of you, through virtue of the YouTube comments and the email, copinghoursubs@gmail.com, wanted to let me know that Bryan Cranston recently reprised his role as Walter White, as Heisenberg, in an anti-littering campaign for the state of New Mexico. Now, folks, this is a big moment for me because I need to discern in real time if that counts as a moment. So let's unpack it. A guy reprising one of the most recognizable and iconic roles of the 21st century for an anti-littering campaign in the state that that the show took place in and was largely shot in. I'm telling you right now, if that doesn't count as a moment, then I don't know what would. Because what we had hypothesized is that, well, he's a big Dodgers fan and the World Series is about to start, so I don't know, maybe he'll throw out a first pitch. I said that would count. So I had to do an honest sense of reflection here, and I said, do I put it up for a vote? Because we just did that. We got participation in the YouTube comments. We got it in the email. And then I even got a screenshot. One of you posted it in the Coping Hour Reddit, which I honestly appreciated, r/the Coping Hour, for those of you who are interested. Still haven't checked in on that, so hopefully you guys are behaving over there. Haven't heard anything bad yet. So I thought about it. I chewed on it for a few days. And I arrived at a conclusion. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what we in the industry refer to as a motherfucking bingo. That's a bingo. That shit counts. That shit counts. That's a bingo. The Motown Noah 2024 bingo sheet has a fucking bingo in year one. The first year that we do it. What are the odds of that? Honestly, what are the odds that I thought this would take like 6 years to actually get something? I throw, 25, 30 fastballs onto this thing. I'm just like throwing shit on. They're like, this thing's probably not going to happen. Like maybe it's going to happen. So what's the bingo? Somebody famous died. The Clippers blew it up. / did something weird with Paul George. You put that on there. You cannot dispute that one because you at home had the power to veto this or to approve it, and an overwhelming majority of you approved it. Those ballots were counted, and they matter. Bryan Cranston had a moment. He reprised his role as Walter White for like a 30-second ad reverse promoting littering in the state of New Mexico. People learned why the Pistons gave away so much in the Luke Kennard trade. The cap guy fucked up. He was stupid, and the Clippers got mad about it, so they wanted more capital. That's literally all that happened. And Aaron Rodgers has a documentary coming out this December, right under the wire, chronicling his rehabilitation of his ruptured Achilles. From the motherfucking crow's nest, the Lord is my shepherd. I cannot believe that we nailed this. Now, some of you will find this to be contentious. And I'm sure that some of you, listen, what I found interesting was those of you who were opposed to it, me even putting the Paul George thing on there, were like really opposed to it. We had a goddamn lawyer email into the show, and in a really wordy and semi-convincing way was like, I don't think this counts. But then at the end included, but you know what the right thing to do is, which I found to be very ominous. Because I was like, listen, brother, I'm a ballot counter, right? I'm a clerk at a little county office. I'm working in a precinct just counting these ballots. The Bryan Cranston thing, I'm calling an audible because this is a culture show at the end of the day. It's one of the things that we cover on this show is culture. And if Bryan Cranston being Walter White in 2024 for something as fucking funny as an anti-littering ad doesn't count, if it doesn't count, and look at the numbers. Look at the numbers that it's generated on all of the mediums through all of the verticals that it's been posted on. That shit counts. You have until December 31st, 2024 to dispute this. I will give all of you the floor, but you cannot January 6th my ass on this, all right? That's a bingo. As it stands, we actually did it. It's like the Wired autocomplete Reddit undercover. It's actually me, but it's actually a motherfucking bingo. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We did it. We did it. Now, what's still on here that could happen? Can we get a double bingo? I really doubt it. I really doubt it. The Shohei thing, we've been talking about it a lot. We don't need to do it again. He needs to get like 20 more total bases in order to do something that no one has done since 1922. The Dodgers don't win a World Series. Now, I'm rubbing my hands together on this. Also, the Las Vegas Sphere displays election results. That's just going to happen, right? I fucking got you fuckers boxed in. Telling me all year that I'm evil for rooting for the Dodgers. All I wanted was to root for the best product, and damn it, the Dodgers all regular season long were the best product that you could watch in baseball. And now what happened? Not only did they go to the World Series, are you still going to call me evil? Oh, you're going to root for the other team? You're rooting for the Yankees then? Fucking Hitler? Who is the asshole now, right? Who is rooting for the Dodgers now? It's you, motherfucker, sitting at home typing those emails. Nick, I cannot believe I'm a baseball head. I've been playing T-ball since I was 5 years old. I would never root for a team like the Dodgers. Go root for the Yankees then. See how that feels. Because, son, we're rooting for the Dodgers over here. We're rooting for Shohei Ohtani. And how awesome is this for baseball? Like, seriously. I'm not a ratings guy. I honestly don't care that much about ratings, which is weird. It would almost seem like something that we would tackle on this show and, like, really look into analytically and dissect what it may mean. I don't care about it because I think the numbers are so skewed because of illegal streaming and so many different, like, there's just no way to really, but I do think that these ratings might be pretty juicy because you have literally the two teams. These are like the two teams with the two players in baseball between Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. You can also talk about like Juan Soto and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and like, there's someone else on the Yankees. This is embarrassing. There's somebody else on the Yankees I'm forgetting right now. You know what I mean? This is awesome for the sport. And I'm actually excited to like watch, because I haven't locked in for a World Series since Cubs Indians. Was that 2016, 2017? I think it was 2016. That was the last one that I watched every single game. And I was like, holy shit. And then remember, it was game 7 of that when the rain delay happened. And you were like, holy shit, this game is, first of all, never going to end. And then second of all, this is what's going to kill the Cubs and their momentum. I was also thinking about the Cubs because I kind of got jebaited by them. Because I remember, would it have been this last winter that like David Ross was their manager? Like, he was gainfully employed as the manager of the Chicago Cubs. But then they just like went and got Craig Counsell. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, David Ross, you don't have a job anymore. And we just like went and got a different guy. We just like paid to get a different guy. Oh, okay. I honestly thought that was going to like set a new precedent across the American sports landscape. Where it's like, we don't care if we already have, because that's like unprecedented and weird the way that they did it. Where they're just like, we don't care if we have somebody under contract. Like, if we can go get this other guy and then just kick this current guy out, like, we're going to do that. Didn't technically work out for them this year. And then I also remember believing, shame on me for doing it, honestly. There were some rumbles out there that Shohei may consider the Cubs. Because you guys remember when he was a free agent and it was like all of the qualifications that were needed in order for him to consider coming to your team. Like, yeah, money was a thing, but also like historical precedents. And so that's why you were looking at teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees and, you know, the Red Sox got floated out there. The Cubs, you know, from a historical perspective, the storied history for better or for worse, you know, but like Wrigley Field, you know what I mean? Like that mattered. Weren't the Rangers in there? Now, if we're being honest, there were like 10 different teams that were at some point sneaky in the mix. I'd be curious to know at the end of the day how many of them he was, legitimately considering. The Dodgers ended up being the best thing in the world because he looks sick as hell. Here's a weird take about the World Series. I wish that the Dodgers could trade for Emmanuel Clase, like right now. But like as a rental, he can go back to the Guardians. Like he can go back to Cleveland when the series is done. I just really like watching him pitch. And I wish that he, you know what I mean? And I don't want him to be on the Yankees, so I would rather him be on the Dodgers. Alrighty, folks. What do we got in the college football this weekend? Oh yeah, Michigan State is this weekend. Probably the least juiced I've been for that game. And what year was it that the game was like 9-12, 9-13 or something? It was like the early 2010s. We had one of those just absolute stinkers because both of the teams were just bad. Yeah, both of the teams are bad this year. I think Michigan State this is not home cooking. I think they're less bad because Michigan's quarterback situation, they're on quarterback number 3, and they just cannot figure it out. They just we don't know what's going on. Like the defense still exists, but the offense does not. And sort of Michigan State, I don't know. We've kind of gotten it together, and we tightened some screws during the bye week, and we looked for the most part pretty good in that Iowa game, and Michigan's only kind of getting weirder and stupider. So if we lose that game, I'm definitely going to be annoyed, but I don't know. I'm excited for it. I want Aiden Childs to rule, but I don't know. NFL. Oh, fuck the NFL, man. Suspending Jamison Williams again? We're doing this again. So first, now, man, it's getting so weird. I'm not convinced that they didn't tear his ACL in the national championship game, whether that had been against Georgia, right before he got drafted. Because what the hell? So he missed most of his rookie year because he was recovering from a torn ACL. When we drafted him, he only had one knee, but it was he's Jamison Williams. He's really good. And guess what? He is. And then a year later, he gets suspended for what? 4 games? 4 or 5 games? Because he placed a bet on a college football game in a hotel room, but it was considered a team facility. And so they're like, nope, can't do that. Can't gamble. Oh, okay. Deshaun Watson, I don't need to. But they're just so inconsistent. And then, so now he's getting suspended. He's facing a 2-game suspension. Not 4. If it was 4, it would be for an actual PED. But he's facing a 2-game suspension, pending investigation, because he, was taking a prescription and, didn't fill out a form or some bullshit. And however, even if I'm wrong and you're going to be like, oh, nigga, it was actually this thing. Whatever it is, it's dumb. Whatever it is, it's, actually stupid. Didn't this happen to Jimmy Garoppolo a couple of years ago, too? This happens to players all the time where they just, don't fill out a form for something that they're taking. And the NFL's like, PED. Oh, my God. Test this guy's piss. What? When Dan Campbell is yeah, we're not worried about it. We're still dangling the rope for him. He just lost his grip a little bit. He'll climb his way back up. Listen, if Dan's good, I'm good. There are so many people in Lions land that are like, oh, man, I don't know if this guy should get a second contract. Shut up, dog. Shut up. He's awesome, and all of this has been such a dumb witch hunt. I don't know why. What do they have against Jamison Williams? Maybe he's kind of a dumb guy, but he's awesome. Every time he scores a touchdown, he does 4 celebrations and gets flagged every single time. But it's awesome because he probably deserved it. Whatever his touchdown was probably ruled. And if we're being honest, if any of us, you and me, listen to this right now, scored a touchdown in the NFL, I'm doing 9 celebrations. I'm getting 2 flags thrown on me. I'm Randy Mossing the crowd, only I'm actually doing it. You know what I mean? I'm doing a real life Randy Moss, not the faux Randy Moss. That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss. And I apologize for, what did he say? He apologizes for having that on the airwaves, on the broadcast. Joe Buck has recently, at some point this year, walked that one back, and it was yeah, I kind of wish I didn't say that. But he was just being a corporate man, right? He was doing the right thing, but it was also chill the hell out. Joe Buck. Do I have any broadcasting notes from the basketball games? Not really. Candace was fine. Stan was good. He's always good. Reggie Miller, fine. You know what I mean? I don't know. Everybody was fine. The Pacers play-by-play guy, well, they're just their broadcast team. The play-by-play guy and the color guy are just boring to me. Sorry, Pacers fans. I like your team more than I like your broadcasters. I don't know. Alrighty, folks. If you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. If you're listening to this on YouTube, watching this on YouTube, perhaps, be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Nice little comment for the old algorithm. What else is there? Oh, yeah, make sure to keep primary control in check. And I will catch you guys in the next one.